What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about what made me convert. Alright, so a while ago, back in, we'll say 2015, I had denounced my faith. I figured it was crap, it was just baloney, and none of my friends loved it. You know, they absolutely abhorred it, actually. You know, the idea of converting to Christianity and stuff like that. So I went with the flock, and you know, before that, I was getting butt whoopings every single day because I was being a bad kid. I was bringing home bad grades, you know, and stuff like that, and you know, just enduring a lot of things, and even question like, why is it I'm still, you know, getting disciplined, you know, which is pretty important in growth, but why am I still getting disciplined like this every single day? Why would God allow it? You know, and so I questioned it to some people that did believe in God, and so I had enough, and so I was just like, okay, well, that's it. I don't believe it in anymore. So with that being said, it was a pretty interesting couple of years living with God out of my life, to say the least. I went into an even worse school. That was the first sign that things were getting worse, where my mental health was declining, all right, to the point where I was actually grabbing alcohol and even in front of my parents just threatening suicide, and they've had to pretty much do suicide watch on me because I was getting drunk, and then as I was getting drunk, I would, you know, tell them to give me the keys to the gun safe and stuff like that, and it's just like, I just wanted to end my life right there. So that was 2015 to 2016, 2016 to 2017. It got better for a moment, you know, but then I went on a trip to go visit my dying grandfather, and I had gotten into a fight with my dad, which didn't end so well. I mean, you know, now he and I are cool, but I had started the fight with my dad. There was I don't know what caused it. I don't know why I even decided to just start this issue, but you know, I was telling him that I just needed a caring dad, a loving dad, this, that, and the other, in which we had a sit down, and once I did come back from that trip, and he laid it out on the table for me, displaying how much he cared, displaying how much he loved me, you know, that he wants to be here, the reason why he even decided to stay, you know, in my life, you know, all these things, you know, because he wanted to explain it to me. But in that time, I was just like, okay, let's get through with the conversation. I want to go play video games, do this, that, and the other. And, you know, my relationships just really didn't amount to much in my personal opinion. So I noticed now that my relationships with my parents declined ever since I started to, ever since I had denounced my faith. You know, everything just got worse and worse and worse from there, because I was still cutting myself. I was tempted, I didn't do it, but I was tempted to try weed because my friends were doing it. I ended up getting into vaping, and I even got drunk with the guys back in 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. They had a bunch of alcohol, and you know, we all got drunk together, and I'm telling you right now, like, things were I just got into worse and worse situations as the time passed, until finally it kind of like plateaued, because at some point I was in so much despair, and it just didn't faze me anymore. Whatever I was going through mentally, it didn't faze me anymore. So I was like, okay, well, that's it. You know, this is my life. So 2018 hits, and I think it was like right around the time I'm getting ready to graduate. And I went ahead and went through this welding course for high school. And my welding coach, I didn't know this, but he happened to be Christian. And then one day, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what caused it, but one day, he and I told him I needed to talk to him. And I was at the brink. I was like a bottle that was overfilled and overflowing with emotion. And I was just ready to let it all out. And I never felt comfortable doing it in front of my parents because I had pretty much tarnished my relationship with them. And I didn't have anybody else to go to. So it was just like one thing led to another. I pretty much have nowhere else to go. So my welding coach was the next best thing, you know, at the time, because I had a pretty good relationship with him. But I had went ahead and he's like, all right, man, just meet me in the truck and I'll get there in just a second. So I get in the truck, not the trunk, get him. And so as soon as I get to the truck, get inside, I look over at the driver's seat. He's about to get in, and he's like, all right, what did you want to talk about? And then oh man, like thinking about it now, it kind of makes me tear up because I was in such a low state of mind, and that was the day that was the day that this dude had poured it out on me. He was like, listen, man, I told him, like, my relationship with my parents is not going well, my grades are getting bad, I'm getting beat constantly, this, that, and the other, which I wasn't getting beat, I was getting disciplined, alright, but it was my fault that I was getting whipped. You know, I wanted to commit suicide for a while, this, that, and the other, and I just laid it out all on the table, and all he said was, let me ask you one thing, do you believe in Jesus? And I think at the time I had said yes, but that was just instinctive, like, because he was the only person that, he like, I just wanted to, you know, in that moment. I was done resisting, and so I was just like, yes, you know, and so in the middle of me, like, crying and stuff like that, he let me let it all out, and then I kind of calmed down a bit, still tearing up and stuff like that, but then he was just like, you know, sometimes when we're in a period of resistance, a period of rebellion, God is going to hold you down. You know, basically, like, imagine his hand is as big as your body, and he's just going to hold you down. And he's going to let you resist all you want, you know, until finally you've exerted every bit of energy and you're tired and you just want to give in. And he said, I think that's exactly what happened to you, because you've been resisting him, you've been rebelling against him this entire time, and now this is like what this is the outcome. So then he said a little prayer to me. We went to go get Waffle House right before going to school and everything like that. So, man, I was just like, you know, and I'm not saying that ever since then, you know, it's been peaches and cream. Obviously, you know, everything, you know, still, that day laid the foundation I just never built anything upon it, and I still want to, and I still struggle with sin here and there. I wouldn't say here and there, it's still every day. But the thing was like that day, God had reached out to me through my welding coach, and he converted me that day. Like, I had finally renounced my faith, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done resisting, Lord. Please take me, do what you will. I'm just tired. And so every day from then on, it was just either talks about, politicians, like, Republicans versus Democrats and stuff like that, whatever. Then we had gospel talks, and then he even asked me, like, at some point, he's like, what do you think dictates you getting into heaven? And I was like, you live a good life. Of course you do some bad things, and this, that, and the other. But overall, I think that as long as you lived a good life, living good deeds, and even believing in God, that you should be good. And he explained it to me that day. He's like, that's not how that works. And I will tell you exactly how it works. You need to put 100% faith in Jesus Christ, that he died on the cross and that he resurrected on the third day. And I was like, really? That's all you need to do? Really? And he explained it to me. It's like, sin is never going to be forgiven. Like, we're never going to be able to work for our salvation, and stuff like that. And the conversation went on, but I don't really remember the rest of the conversation. I just remember explaining it to me like that. And so it was crazy. Like, that day that, I had just broken down and I was ready to go, like, everything that was going on in my life, I had a mental decline up until the point where I had felt like I hit rock bottom and I just needed a way out. And God and Jesus happened to be that way out, because Jesus came into somebody else and worked his magic through him. And that day I was just like, all right, I'm ready to go. What's next? So that summer, after I had graduated, almost every Sunday, I think up until like September, I had went to Bible study with Coach King, which he's an absolute G. I pray that dude is living his best life, man. He's got a family of like 6 right now, I think, and they are thriving. So I am so happy for them. In fact, after this, it's been months, in fact, almost a year since I texted him. So I'm gonna text him and just be like, listen, man, hope you're doing well. I'm praying for you and stuff like that. But yeah, I was in such a mental decline, and Coach King came around, and God worked through him, and he worked his way into my life, and now here I am, right? So it's one of the best days of my life. In fact, probably the best day of my life, because I've never had such. Now, granted, in that moment, I didn't experience joy. I didn't experience any sort of, I felt alleviation from the pain that I was enduring. But you know what? I'm parking at the airport today. I'm parking at the airport because this is ridiculous. I'm telling you, every time I go to work, I'm always getting there, and then all of a sudden, I'm just like spending more time on the road. I don't get it. It's like every day is just slower and slower as I get to work. Anyway, so, but yeah, at that point, I was just felt I was relieved, that all that weight had finally dissipated. And then every day we were talking, he was helping me grow in faith, and we were just talking about politics and stuff like that. And, I was just like, dude, I am now that I'm looking at it, at least I'm like, dude, this probably is one of the best days of my life, because I was at such a low point in my life, and I couldn't turn to anybody else. At least I felt like I couldn't, because again, I ruined my relationship with my parents and everything like that, which now, by the way, is much better than it was before. But you know, it's just like, dude, that day made the world. Like, it means the world to me that somebody came to preach the gospel to me, essentially, you know, and he prayed over my life and helped me to walk on the right path. And since then, like I said, it's never been always peaches and cream. Again, I still sin to this day, you know, but I understand my sin, and I repent on a daily basis, you know, and now I'm at a much happier point in my life now that I have Jesus. So I'm hoping that this video comes to you, and I pray to God that it resonates inside you. You know, if you didn't believe in